Hey, before I kick off the podcast, I just want to shout out Next Door Clothing. Next Door, a clothing brand based out of Bondi in Sydney. They're making really nice jeans and shirts and hats. So go and check out their full range at nextdoorsydney.com. They're also artists, so you can go and check out a range of art. They put on rad parties, and I love what they're doing. So nextdoorsydney.com for the full range.
Born ready.
Born ready. Crooko. I'll cherish our years playing soccer together, doing yoga, surfing occasionally, and our deep conversations. You were always more energy than matter. Rest in peace. All right, let's do some shout outs. I'd like to shout out to Tectonic Coffee, LA-based coffee roasters, purveyors of super clean caffeine. I love that. Pesticide-free, ethically produced and harvested crops, fair trade practices. It's just like, for me, on a personal level, it's just been so great watching Deaton and his journey over the last 15 years, really giving it a good crack in LA and California. It's just pure passion. I love it. Tectonic Coffee ship worldwide, so go to www.tectoniccoffee, that's TECTONIC, coffee.com, and use promo code THT for a discount and support the podcast while you're at it. Shout out to Indosol. They make flip-flops, like in Australia we call them thongs, and slides, sandals, all made from recycled motor vehicle tyres. They have distributors all over the world, so go to www.indosol.com, that's INDOSOLE.com, and use promo code THT for a discount wherever you are in the world. Support the podcast, and also for each pair of Indosols that are sold, Indosol provide food to the people who need it in Bali right now during the restrictions placed due to COVID-19. Indosol ethics are at their core always, and big shout out to Kai Paul, Chris Pappas, and Kyle Parsons, absolute legends. All right, ready to roll, guy?
Born ready.
Yeah, you were.
I'm having a good time.
You are?
Yeah.
I can tell.
And we are rolling too.
Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Today's guest is Guy Miller. Guy is a husband, father, skateboarder, photographer, businessman, and entrepreneur. Guy was the co-founder of the iconic Australian streetwear clothing company Juice Clothing back in the early 90s. He was a prolific skateboarding photographer, specifically documenting the Sydney and Australian skate scene throughout the mid to late 90s and early 2000s via magazines such as Skateboarding Australia and SLAM. The Juice skateboarding videos are legendary, documenting the best skateboarders of the era, such as Jeff Skunk Williams, Michael Davo Davidson, Chima Ferguson, and Cale Nuske. And vert skater Ti Coeling. I can't forget that because I love Ti. He probably doesn't even remember me. And many, many more. Yep, I even got a couple of tricks in one of the Juice videos back in the day. 2 tricks, Sky.
No way.
Who's counting though? Their videos captured moments in time that laid the foundation for the Australian skateboarding scene as it is today. Nowadays, Guy part owns the skate shop's Kingpin, hangs with his wife and kids, surfs when he can, and escapes a few months a year to Bali. As an acquaintance of Guy's over the years, I've always admired his approachable nature, good vibe, and lack of ego.
Thanks a lot, man.
Today, Guy's with me to share his journey, experiences, challenges, and hopes for the future. Guy Miller, welcome.
Thanks very much. Thanks for the nice intro as well.
Dude, you're a nice guy.
Thanks, man.
Do you get that a lot?
I don't know. It depends. Maybe some of the people that work for us.
What would your wife say?
Oh, I don't know. She's heard all my stories. So
Has
she'd be
she?
like, don't tell the stories again.
Does she do a thing where she rolls her eyes when you tell the same story 100 times?
Dude, my best friend walks away when he starts hearing the stories. Like, he's like, oh.
Dude, we've got to cling on to those stories, man.
I think that's one of the best things about going to Bali is that you can meet new people to hear your stories again. They're like, this guy's so interesting.
Dude, he's so interesting, yeah. He's a big deal back in Oz.
No, I just think they haven't heard all your stories. So, you know,
Yeah, I know.
it's like the 9 Club, the skateboarding podcast. Everyone on there is quite interesting for at least 1 hour, their whole life, you know. But maybe some of them not even, but most of them, you think you've got at least, it's like a movie. You can make one good movie or an album if you're a band, you know. But then maybe the next album, not
so good. But like you make a good point there because I really do believe like every human is unique and we all have our own unique story. So yeah, it is. We all have something interesting to offer.
Yeah, I think so. I love listening to podcasts because I find you get very stuck, well, I did, in my own ways, and you don't get much new information. So you just kind of have that same thought process, and then you hear someone else, which I never used to, and you can really get that information. Like, whoa, that guy thinks like that, and you can really tap into interesting, smart people.
Have you found that podcasts have been like a real new way for you to learn?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think as I've gotten older, I find it so hard to learn.
Why?
I tried to learn Indonesian in Indonesia, and I think the brain is just,
Really?
It was, I just really struggled.
When you say hard to learn, do you mean in terms of like you can't retain information?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors, you know, like I was doing a lot of other things, but also, it's just, I remember I went to university and you'd see the mature age, the older students, they were just pests because they were very keen, but they just weren't, you could tell they were very serious, but they just didn't learn as quickly.
Yeah, and they ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I was a mature age student at uni.
Would have hated you.
I sat up the front.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't
I
party.
know, though.
No, I did party.
I think you seem like you talk yourself down, but I think you'd be a pretty inspirational teacher and a pretty cool student.
Why?
I don't know. I think teachers, the most important quality, in my opinion, the ones that I had were just enthusiastic, you know, like, and I was listening to some podcasts the other day where they said your brain like works better if it's in a positive, or it's more creative if it's in a positive environment. Whereas, you know, because you're more open to new ideas. Whereas if you're negative, you're more in a fight sort of like thing. You're thinking negatively or to escape or something. I don't know.
It's a good point. Like, I mean, I think whether you're a teacher or a businessman, it's all about relationships. And I feel like sometimes that can't be taught. Like I see some teachers who have amazing knowledge and amazing practices, but they just can't get the information across because they don't know how to connect with people.
Yeah.
Now, my question to you is like, has that been something that has worked for you over the years in business, being able to connect with people?
Maybe. I think in everything if you want to sell something, you just want the person to like you. So I guess we were predominantly selling things. So if they liked you, they'd help. I don't know. Like, it's hard because you're yourself, so you can't say like. But I don't know. Sometimes if a brand's hot, they'll buy it, no matter, even if they hate the person.
Yeah.
And if it's less popular, maybe the rep's amazing, and they're like, we love that guy. We can get that stuff. I don't know. Yeah, definitely being nice. I don't know. I just always wanted to be, you know, like, I just don't like people that are bitter. Like, you know, that seems like so much work.
It is work.
But
it is.
Yeah, being bitter is.
It's hard. It consumes a lot of mental energy.
Yeah.
I work really hard on resentments. So, like, if I have a resentment towards someone, I need to work out ways to let go of that as quickly as possible because it just chews me up. I ruminate over it. Like it could be even something small, like a guy pushed in front of me in the coffee line at the coffee shop before.
Yeah, well,
I've got to work on that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's what's good about not having guns in Australia because you'd shoot people all the time.
I can't believe you brought that up because you know how like the American gun culture is so hard for me to comprehend.
Yeah, but they'll never change. I always think it's strange that because I spent a lot of time in America. Americans don't care about the rest of the world. They have no idea. If you sit in America and watch news, there's zero knowledge about anywhere else. But everyone else cares about America. It's strange.
Did you live in the States?
Yeah.
How long for?
I did a lot of snowboarding, and I'd spent a lot of time in California skating or shooting photos.
So living and sort of semi-working, or
yeah, I just would when I was shooting photos, we'd just go over for like. I think the visa was 90 days, so I'd stay 90 days. And then I think we were trying to move Juice over at the time. So I was over there shooting a lot of photos. And we had a skater at the time called Cale Nuske, and he was one of the best AMs in the like amateur skateboarders in the world. And he was probably the most desired sponsorship talent anywhere. And I guess like it was a long time ago when it was so different to now. Like I had a mobile phone because we were sponsored by Boost Mobile, this phone company.
I know Boost.
So they gave me a phone and it would work, but it would work anywhere in the world, and I'd never get a bill. And but no one had a phone, so we'd walk along, and every day I would get a call for this guy Cale, and they'd be like, "We want you to ride for this, we want to ride for that."
Like skate companies.
Yeah, anyone.
Were you managing him?
No, well, he didn't have a manager. There was no managers. I don't think there is
by default.
Yeah, I don't even think there is managers now in skating. Like there certainly wasn't then. I mean, some people would huge.
Nigel would.
Yeah, like big, but most of them.
Shane O'Neill.
Yeah,
all those street league guys.
I don't know. Maybe you'd be surprised. I think like a lot of people. I think it's sort of changed too now with Instagram. You maybe I don't know. I don't even think you'd need a manager. You could just send me a message and I'll, before you'd how would you contact someone?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, people are so much more accessible.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
You can, like you said, you can reach out and DM people on Instagram, Facebook and stuff like that.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think now it's like, but big dudes would have a manager, but he didn't have a manager.
So you kind of went over there as his photographer
No, I was over there. He was there already, trying to make it skateboarding, I think. And he was living at the America mansion in Hollywood, but he had another shoe sponsor. And
but you had him on Juice.
Yeah. Well, I think he was. Yeah, at the time. Well, if you went back in time, he was from Adelaide. We once drove to Adelaide to shoot photos. Me, Ti Coeling, and this guy Cam, and we drove across. We went skating in Adelaide I think we were filming a video, shooting photos for the magazine. And then we met this little kid at the skate park, and he was only like 15, and he was probably the best skater, definitely in Australia, maybe one of the best in the world. Totally unknown, and he looked so out of place in Adelaide, like he was like a technical street skater. He was maybe the best talent ever that I've seen. And
even more than Chima?
More different, super different. But he in terms of he could think of a trick and do the trick. Like he didn't even have to. Like he would never do it down. He did like some of the biggest tricks I've ever seen, but he'd learn it down the biggest rail and get a photo of the thing. But anyway, he was there. We sponsored him on the spot. We were like, man, that guy's insane. And then he broke his leg really badly. He dislocated his ankle and broke his leg. And he didn't skate for another year. So that was when he was 15. And then by the time he got to being probably like 17, no one had heard of him because he hadn't done anything. But I knew, I'd seen him. So then he came up to Sydney, and then we were trying to get him. I was just trying to get him over. He was trying to go overseas. He went to Europe, instantly got sponsored. Then he was like super desirable, and for every single company. And he ended up getting straight onto S the shoe, which was the biggest shoe company in the world then. Well, he actually rode for Link at the time, which Brett Margaritis was the team manager, and it was owned by Adidas. And with Lucas Puig, it was him and Cale. They were the sort of AMs. But S was putting insane pressure on him to ride for them over there. So he was... Anyway, he'd walk down the... I always loved hanging out with him. He was hilarious. He was, like, really good looking as well. And he'd walk down the street with him. I remember we were walking down San Francisco. The phone rang. No one had... and I was like, hey, can you ride for... I think it was Gold Wheels. And he was like, I don't know. And then... he kept walking down the street. This guy crossed the road, and he just a random person. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Just brushed me out of the way, which is pretty common for him. He's like, "You to be a model? I'm an agent, And Cale was like, "No, I don't want to do that." And it was like so easy for him. It was hilarious.
No way.
He'd go to a party. Yeah, you'd go to a party, and girls would just push you out of the way and just be like, "Hello, what's your?" Yeah, it was a classic guy. But he ended up doing well. I think he ended up buying a house in Adelaide. Yeah. Getting a bit of money. He had to quit Juice to ride for, I think he rode for S for everything. And, which was, that sucked. But, what can you do? That happened a lot to me.
I mean, they're a pretty big company. They're solid.
Yeah.
Not to say Juice wasn't solid, but
but they were like...
kind of a next level American company.
Yeah. My friend was the team manager, actually, this good Tony Evians. He had a heart attack and died when he was like 38. He was the best dude. But I was trying to say, can you just ride for Juice in Australia or something? He was like, no. But
so what, they wanted him for clothing and shoes?
Yeah, well, it's funny because S was this big brand. It's also owned by Etnies. They also owned Etnies in America.
Soul Technology?
Yeah. And I always thought that when I went over there, like S was been way bigger than Etnies and, like America. I thought S was the greatest. And we went there and they're like, see that it was this huge campus. You had to get a golf cart around. And
what, their headquarters?
Yeah, it's in Lake Forest.
Yeah, we
lived right near there for a while. And
no way.
You'd go there, but S was just this tiny little room, and Etnies was huge, And that was the first time I realized, because you came from Australia, you had no idea about the rest of the world, because people didn't care about skateboarding as much as they cared about Etnies, which I thought was hilarious.
So Etnies had more of a market share than S, but we were just only getting the S side.
Yeah, but I think, when you have your own little world where you love skateboarding, you just don't see the rest of the bigger picture.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was funny.
Man, I can't help myself. I've got to ask, so when he was getting contracts thrown at him as an AM,
yeah,
man, what sort of money is getting thrown at an amateur by companies like Adidas and S?
I don't remember.
Do you remember?
I remember helping him a little bit, but not much. But those guys, I actually think, I really feel bad. At that time, I felt upset, but there wasn't much I could do. But they didn't have much management, or there was no future. Like, there was other guys like Shane Cross and Jake Duncombe and stuff, and they would sort of get given all this money, but there was no, you should manage this. It might not last forever. Maybe you should pay some tax. All of those kind of...
It's funny. I remember when Dustin Dolan years ago first moved to the States and got the deal with Vans.
Yep.
I heard a rumor that they just gave him, just to get him started, they gave him $100,000 US and a Mustang.
Yeah.
Did that shit really happen?
I don't know. I like Dustin. I think if anyone deserves to make it, it's a kid from the Blue Mountains that used to do kickflip indies. And
I remember the kickflip indies.
And wear one elbow pad.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was, I think Dustin's amazing.
I love Dustin. His episode on the 9 Club, I actually listened to that 3 times. I couldn't get enough of it. I loved that podcast.
You should get Andrew Mapstone on here because he has some hilarious... No, not Andrew.
Oh, no, that was Anthony on the 9 Club.
Yeah, Andrew. Because he's done a lot of stuff working with Dustin, and I've seen... Dustin, I think, is a great promoter of himself and of his image, and I think it's incredible. I remember once seeing him in Las Vegas. There was a best trick contest on vert, and he entered it as a street skater. He tried to do a kickflip to fakie over the channel into this huge, 14-foot vert ramp. It was so dangerous. And I was watching, and everyone was like, man, he's crazy. And then I was watching, and he was signaling someone on the platform. And then I looked across, and Mapstone was sitting next to me, and he was shooting it. So he was it looked crazy, but he knew what he was doing. He was making sure Mapstone was ready to get the photo, and it ran double page. He didn't make it. He slammed real hard, but he got the photo. And I think because he's had like a lot of knee surgery. I think 5 or something, and he's done physio. He's worked hard.
He's got a huge heart.
Yeah,
like the slams he takes and the commitment that he puts in. It's really unparalleled. I don't think anyone has really gone as hard in professional skateboarding as him in terms of like longevity. Like, excuse me, including his injuries, and then still staying relevant.
I don't know.
Impressive,
Did you see
man.
Andrew Reynolds? Man,
Reynolds is and Reynolds too.
He's amazing.
Reynolds is just the man. Like he really is the boss. Hey.
Yeah, no, I can't believe that last part was the best part in the new Baker video.
So good.
I liked it anyway.
Same, man. He's our vintage as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. I think those people are like sort of once in a generation type talent. Like Michael Davidson. I was like Davo. Mm-hmm. He was this young kid from Borkham Hills. This amazing mini ramp skateboarder. And then I think he's like the best skater ever. Maybe not the best, but definitely like he's the most, like influential skateboarder from Australia. Easily, I think. And he's still now amazing. If you watch him on Instagram now, he's ripping. He just moved to Melbourne. He's the DC team manager now, but I think he's got 2 kids. But he's still ripping, and he's amazing. He's amazing on mini. He's amazing on street. He's just amazing. He's a hilarious guy.
He's got this X factor. I remember even like back in the day, Martin Place Pit. Like we're talking like early 90s maybe. And you'd see him around and he just had this aura and this like, he was super young. He's got a real baby face.
Yep.
And he had like something that no one else did. Like it was this, you knew that he was going to change the game. Like, and I used to see him at Fairfield mini ramp. Like we're going back now and he was ripping mini ramps as well.
Yeah. Well, I think that I started Juice when I was in school. I never had a job. And we didn't know what we were doing. We just like winged it. But there was we were just essentially making baggy clothes and there was no baggy clothes. And I remember we just sort of, it started in 93 and then we got Davo, we sponsored Davo at some period, I think in maybe 96 maybe. It was like 3 years, we didn't know, the beginning was just like a cottage thing in my house. And then once we sponsored him, I think that is actually the reason why Juice was successful to make the next like jump from like just whatever brand. Like he was definitely key because everyone wanted to be that person. He was like Australia Chad Musker rolled into like Josh Kalis, rolled into like Danny Way or something, like a combination of all those different. So I think he really helped.
He had that fresh vibe, but then he really charged too. Like he did big shit as well.
Yeah, I don't think people, maybe you, because you're little, but he was like the best. He was originally like a mini ramp dude. That's what he did. He was just like a little mini, and he can skate vert. Yeah, and then I remember he had this period where he had lots of different periods because he was sponsored by Juice, and we started a company for him called Illume. But he originally, he went through all these different periods, and I remember he went through one period where he'd just wear black. He'd wear like, dye his hair black. He wouldn't skate any transition. Like he just was like, I don't like that. No one, Josh Kalis wouldn't or something. But we'd go to a mini ramp once, like a small transition ramp that he hadn't skated because I'd skate with him all the time for years. And he'd still be able to have like this run that would go for like 20 minutes where he could do every trick. And like, because I grew up skating mini. So I was always like, and I would lose all the tricks that I could do, but he could still, And now you can, he's amazing. Still on Instagram.
Street skating?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, follow him on Insta. He's like he's really ripping. Like maybe skating better. Not better, but really good.
It's funny. It becomes like a master.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's what goes back to those people like Andrew Reynolds, you sort of Tony Hawks. They just have that once in a generation sort of body where they can just keep doing it. Muscle memory.
But Reynolds, he lives super clean.
No.
Yeah.
No.
He's a non-drinker.
But he killed himself for years and then...
I know that, but like he's still, when he's not throwing himself down big rails and stairs, like he's he's living well in terms of his lifestyle behaviors. So
maybe.
I think there's something to it. Seems
Definitely. But I don't think he's been really super health focused. Not like those.
Yeah, like maybe not a fanatic about it, but I think he definitely. I don't know. It seems like from what I've seen anyway in the media stuff, he seems like he's taking care of himself in that respect.
Yeah. No, it's amazing, but he's been far out going so hard.
But I think like same with Davo, I think it just comes back to pure passion, and it resonates. Like that's what keeps him going. It's just pure love. They're not really doing it for anything else, but just for the love of the game. You know.
Yeah. No. I think yeah, I think as you get older, you get really psyched to see someone older still doing it. You know, like it's like a different vibe. You know, when you're young, you're like, old people, what? They're just in the way. What are they doing? But when you get older, you're just like, there's a guy down here, Barry Strachan, and I remember skating with him when he was a little, when I was a little kid, he was older.
Yeah.
And now I haven't seen him skating for a while but I remember, and now you see him, you're just so pumped that he can still skate. It's amazing.
It's so inspirational. He's so creative, that guy. He does like crazy artwork now as well.
Yeah,
I think he's been doing that for years. Like sculptures and stuff.
Yep. This kid skates good too.
Listen, man, how's the knee, bro?
Yeah, I had knee surgery 2 weeks ago, Monday.
Why? What happened?
I got a lunge lesion under my knee. My knee just started hurting. I think when I was growing, it's a super long story, but when I was 18, I got hit by a car, and I got hit into a wall, and the car had a bull bar, and it broke my femur, and it paralyzed my left foot, and that meant that it it grew back. Originally I had no movement of my foot. Then then over time, the nerve grew back. So I have like limited movement of my left foot. And that's kind of how I got into doing juice to some degree, and definitely photography, skate photography, because I just wanted to keep doing it. But anyway, that caused me, I guess, I use a lot more of my right leg. And then I think over time, because that was heaps long ago, like I'm 45 now. So that was like 25 years ago. 27 years ago. And so I think that just gradually wore down. I don't know what caused it, but I think that was the problem. So they just screwed around in there and charged me like $3,000. And no, I mean, I think you're healthy, you're wealthy.
How's it feeling though?
I feel sore, and I saw the doctor, and he said it was a bit worse than they thought it was going to be, which is a bit of a Debbie Downer.
It would be, bro.
Yeah, well, I was hoping they were just going to be like, nah, man, we're going to do this. It would be sweet. And I got my ITB released, which was controversial. But
your ITB released?
No, you have this ITB. It's your
down the side of your leg?
Yeah. Yep. It's got a really long name. I'm not going to try and say.
Yeah.
They just give it a little nick and make it a bit longer, and that puts apparently less pressure on the kneecap. Are
you talking the one that connective tissue on the outside of your thigh?
Yep.
Yeah, that's actually called the TFL, tensor fascia latae. Sorry, don't ask me how I know that.
Yeah. I don't know. This is the ITB. Anyway, I'm not sure. I think it maybe connects with that. I don't. When you say something, you're like, I don't want to say this on the internet. I'm going to be wrong.
Yeah, don't commit.
Yeah.
Just in case.
But I think anyway, like he said, it hurt real bad. I tried for a whole year to do physio. I saw 3 different physios at the same time. I think I was spending all the money I was earning on just going to the doctor and the physio to try and fix it, but that wasn't working. So he was like, you got nothing to lose. And I was like, fair enough. So yeah, the knee, that's getting better, hopefully. And I've had a lot of injuries in my life. I think from
skateboarding?
Well, I got hit by that car, and I think as a kid, all I wanted to do was be a pro skater or just skateboard. I think it was the same thing. And then I got hit by the car when I was 18 or 17, and that was sort of the end of that. And then I got right into snowboarding because it didn't affect snowboarding as much because your feet are strapped in, you got the high backs, so I could still snowboard to a pretty good degree. So I would do that for fun. I would skate and stay in skating because I loved skating and shoot photos. And I think when you shoot a skate photo, when you did, it was sort of like a team effort where you'd work with the photographer to get the photo, and it was almost I think landing a skateboard trick is the best feeling in the world. Like a new skate. I don't think there's a better feeling. And it's not possible for your whole life to keep doing that. But then, so I think if you went and shot photos and that person tried it and the security's coming to kick you out and you would get the photo, it felt as almost that same feeling. That's why I think I got into photography, so I could keep in skating. Maybe I didn't even know it, but that's the reason I think I did. So then I would snowboard like for fun, like just on the weekends or whatever. And I'd go, I think I've worked out I'm pretty strong-willed. So I would go to the snow every single weekend in the winter. I did a couple of seasons. I moved to America and snowboarded over there in Colorado. And I used to snowboard all day and then work at the skate park. They had a skate park there at night.
Which part of Colorado?
It was in Breckenridge where the skate park was. And but Breckenridge is sort of flat and cold and not
That's so funny how, because I've heard a few, because Breckenridge is kind of one of the smaller mountains in the area.
It's just flat, yeah. So I did, yeah. I
snowboard. It's so good for snowboarding, though.
Not really.
You don't think so?
No.
Like for park snowboarding?
Park snowboarding, yes.
Okay.
But yeah, you realize, then I started dislocating my shoulder over there, which sucked as well. So I did that every season. I would jump it out and then get surgery and then have a season off, then back. So I did that for a bunch of years. Then I started going to Europe because of my friend from New Zealand. I had this friend, he was a pro skater, Jamie Dring. He moved to Australia and then I convinced him to come snowboarding. He came snowboarding in New Zealand. We moved over there for a season. And then he moved to Europe. Well, he was from England and he became a pro snowboarder in France. So then after, I kind of didn't like Colorado because it was flat and I kept hurting myself. And the park was just huge and very icy or just hard. So Europe was way better. It was like big transitions and stuff. Yeah. Like, so it was powder, so it was nice.
Which part of Europe specifically?
We were just in France in Navoria. Yeah. So it was nice. So I'd go there in the winters and just have time away from skateboarding, I guess. And then the rest of the time I would just shoot photos. Pretty much every weekend I would shoot photos or snowboard, like shoot photos skateboarding. So for years. So I don't know what I was thinking.
Did your desire to become a photographer specifically of skateboarding, was it to support Juice Clothing more than the actual passion for shooting photos?
No, I don't think so. I think to do Juice was just like a thing. I think we wanted to make, I don't know what, we were just idiots. Like, I don't think there was a reason, you're just like, yeah.
Well, tell me, can we go back a little bit to where it all started with Juice? So, what originally inspired the idea?
I think my friend Bart Carnes, who was he wrote for Juice originally, and then he ended up becoming the Billabong team manager and skater for him. He was a pro skater for years. He ripped. He just had hip surgery, actually. And I think he might have came up with the name. And I would never, if you ever start your own brand, don't call it something that you can't trademark like Juice. That's the worst idea ever. But I think we're only 17 or 16, so we didn't know what we were doing. And like everyone starts a clothing company because you're just like, yeah, whatever, we'll make some stickers. And then I think just tenacity made it happen. And just sort of slowly built. And I had my friend, business partner, Richard, he got involved and he can make anything happen. So it was a lot to do with the combination of him and I. He would sort of make everything happen logistically and I would be able to, we both just worked on it. But for years, we didn't make any money out of it at all for so long. I moved to New Zealand in 95.
How'd you keep it going then through those times?
Probably Richard worked on it and I would, it's just, that's just my natural,
you wanted it to happen that bad?
Yeah, I think so. It was a combination because it was a partnership. He wanted to make it happen and I liked it, enough to work on it as well. And then it started, just started growing organically. And then it did amazing for a few years.
I remember.
But then I in particular was terrible at business. I didn't understand anything. All I cared about was skateboarding, the team, and trying to expand it into a worldwide. We had a lot of distributors in different countries like Japan and Canada, America. and we were trying really hard to move it over there, and we just weren't focusing on anything that was going on because we'd always made money. So we were like, yeah, it'll work. And then we went, I remember one day we walked into the accountant, I don't remember what year it was, and he's told us, you've lost $600,000 this year. And I was like, what?
How did you not realize that?
Because we like, just didn't care about money. I just had no interest in money.
If you didn't care about money, what was driving you? Was it just this desire to be part of the skate scene?
I think I really wanted Australia to like the riders to have something, to have a company, I think the companies that I loved, like Girl in particular, which is a company based in Torrance. I went over there a bit with Cale and you'd hang out there and you'd see what they were doing and you'd be like,
Did you go to Girl headquarters?
Yeah, we'd go there all the time. They had
skate park in there.
Yeah. You weren't allowed to film stuff in there.
Did you see Rick Howard and Mike Carroll?
Rick was always there. I don't think Mike.
Because they were my heroes growing up, like those.
No. I spent a lot of time around there around the time of Yeah Right, which was a girl video, and that place was sick. And there's no way those dudes were trying to doing it for money. I don't think if you wanted to start a business and it to be successful. I think there's two sides. You have to make money because it's a business, otherwise you might as well paint a picture. But also, if you'd never be able to get it to the successful starting point if you were just doing it just for money. Like we would have never bothered for those so many years to get it to a point where, because I think the other thing that helped Juice was Surf, Dive and Ski. That was this chain of stores. Well, it still exists, but it's owned by Billabong, and they sort of had all these shops in Sydney, and they could sort of every year, my friend Dave Slade had a connection to them somehow, and we had a few meetings, but once they put in an order, you'd get enough of an order to like combine with all the other stores to make it into a real thing, and that, I think once we got their support, that was a huge change, and that sort of, I guess, leap helped us turn into a real business.
I sort of like what you said about if you're doing it just for the money, it was never going to succeed. Like, do you think it just comes back to like authenticity and like your customers actually being able to sense that you guys were trying to keep it real? Like you talked about Girl skateboards. Like, I mean, they've sustained one of the longest histories for a company.
Yeah.
Like them and say Antihero and Real.
Yeah.
And I think they all have a common theme there, and it's because it's like the pure passion and love for skateboarding, and they've tried to be as authentic as possible.
Yeah, no, I think authenticity is obviously super important, and people can, like you're saying, see right through it. And I think now it's so different as well, like, because now, there's social media. Before it was so easy. You just needed the magazine was there. If you got an ad in the magazine and photos in the magazine, and that's what I was able to do. I think one of the reasons Juice was successful is because no one else cared about skating at all. So I would just shoot photos, and I would predominantly shoot photos of people I hang out with, which rode for the company. But it wasn't that much of a crazy plan. It was just like no one else was sponsoring them, so. And then you'd give the photos to the magazine. And I remember there was sort of two magazines, SLAM, but SLAM was a little bit elitist, I felt. Like the people in it was better for sure, but the photos in it were good, but there was a smaller scene of people that were in that magazine, whereas I think Australian skating, at the beginning anyway, Gordo was the editor. I've got a classic story about him.
Dude, let's talk about Gordo, but keep going.
And then, so I would just rock up. Gordo he's a rad guy, and I liked him, and he helped me so much. He came on the first ever Juice tour. Like, he actually came and skated on it. And
was he the editor of Skateboarding Australia?
Yeah. And we had the Juice tour. And I remember there was this article, I think it's the 98 one maybe, and Aaron Brown was the main photographer. And Aaron, also hilarious and a pretty volatile person. And so he and
Aaron Brown?
Yeah.
Photographer.
Yeah, he had a falling out with Gordo and refused to send him any photos for the magazine. And so I went in and I had the tour article that we went on, and then I shot, I think, every photo in the magazine because there was no other photographers that had photos for the deadline that day. So it was like, yeah. And then obviously that most of the photos that I would shoot would be people that were sponsored by Juice, but I would shoot anyone, you know, but I think the people that I shot a lot of was that. And then that would really help the brand.
They also happen to be like the best skaters of the time as well in Sydney.
But then, like, it's just like that Cale story I was saying. We went to Adelaide. No one else was going to Adelaide, you know? Like, if anyone would have seen Cale skate, and it was pre-social media, you know, like, so you'd have to see him or get a photo of him.
Do you think you started to develop an eye for talent?
Yeah, I actually think I am. I think that's one of the, you know, as you get older, you think I'm good at that. But I think I did pick up a lot of the best skaters. But at the same time, I don't think it was that hard. There wasn't that much competition. There wasn't that many people. Like Chima, I remember he was a little kid, and Aaron Jenkin was like, "Are you going to sponsor him?" Because I was like, "Hey, he's sick, but he's so little." And, you know, no one else, there wasn't that much competition. No one else. So he was like, "Sponsor him, or I'm going to get him on like World Industries clothing," you know?
Way.
But he was just friends. Aaron rode for Juice at the time. So he, but yeah, like Chima was like, it was so obvious that he was.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, obviously, aside from being like an amazing young skateboarder, what did people like Chima and Cale have that sort of separated them from the rest at the time? Because there was still.
I don't think any. I think like, I don't know. I didn't understand this at the time. And I still think it's a combination, but I think tenacity is the most important quality if you're going to succeed in anything. And particularly like skating, if you want to be a pro skater, you got to love it because, you know, otherwise you'll just quit. And people can see, like you said, like they can see that you're just doing it. If you're doing it for fun, it'll look fun and people will want to do it. Mm. But I think those dudes just, you know, like Chima is a prime example. He was a good little kid from Australia. Then he became like an amazing little kid from Australia. Then he became like maybe the best skater in Australia. Then he became, but he was still unknown in America. Then he went to America. You know, he didn't go anywhere at Tampa Am. You know what I mean? Then he moved, you know, then he has to like, it's like starting all over again. And then I've seen heaps of people not make, like Davo, you know, like I think there's heaps of skaters, hundreds of them where I've seen, there's like a George Newsome. He like skates at a pro level. Like he's, you know, back in the day, and Jamie Hawley. Yeah, so many people that are amazing, but they don't make it.
Why?
It's like Cale was a prime example.
It's more than just, it can't just be talent alone. Well, it's like luck as well.
Yeah.
Timing and luck.
Well, I guess it changes all the time. Now I think it's completely different, but at that time it was like Cale, if you're using him as an example, he moved to America, and we were staying with the S team manager, Tony Eviant, and we'd hang out with him every day and see what his life was like, and he would tell us anything. And we knew, no one else knew this, but we knew that Arto Sari was going to quit S and ride for Etnies because he wanted more money, and we knew that Paul Rodriguez was going to quit and ride for Nike. We knew Costin was going to quit, and he basically told us, like, everyone on the team, which was the best team in the world, was going to quit, and they were just desperate to get anyone onto that team.
Like the next big thing?
Just you know, they needed riders, but everyone else would have been like, why would Arto go? You know, but so Cale was he was there. He was the next best thing, so he got the benefit of that, you know, and he was like a kid from Adelaide, then all these things went right for him, and then he was there, you know.
Timing.
Yeah, so.
It's timing.
Yeah, but then he ended up having like 3 knee reconstructions and being completely retired when he was like 22 or something.
It's heavy, hey?
I know, it sucks. But, you know,
dude,
I think he loves carp fishing in Adelaide. So he's
carp
doing
fishing?
Right. So he's got the inner city carp crew.
How much do some people just froth on fishing?
I don't know. I'm
not that guy, man. I can't do it.
I think fishing, I like fishing. And but fishing is like the thing where you get the hypnotized eyes. Right. You know, when people, have you seen Fantastic Mr. Fox?
Oh, man. I haven't.
Anyway, I think you talk to them and they just go into this state of, they'll drive like hours and hours, like 20 hours with their boat to go fishing at 2 a.m.
I know.
I think they're the keenest of any sport.
I think fishing. So. I wonder why.
I don't understand it either.
But I do get the whole like connection to the environment, and they stare out at the ocean or the lake for hours on end. Maybe it's a meditation.
I don't know, but then my friend has like this huge boat and he like drags it he lives in Menangle to the sea.
Menangle. And then they've got all these like lures, like,
it looks
check
insane.
out my new lure.
I don't know, but it's like anything. It's like people would look at surfers and be like, what are they doing? Like, you know,
people often say to me, why do you have like 15 surfboards? I'm like, well, I don't ride half of them, and then the other half are from different conditions.
No,
like, you don't get it?
Tell
like,
him
come on.
next time, like, what's the ideal number of surfboards? The number you have plus one more. It's like, going to help you out.
Is that what you say to your wife?
No, I don't know. Like, I don't agree with, I always find it weird when people get mad that the other person, their partner buys things and it's not in the budget or something. I don't know. I've always tried really hard not to have that in the relation, like, you know, just be like, buy whatever you want.
Yeah.
Get your own money. If you just want to buy surfboards and have no clothes, that's all right.
It's always delicate.
So she loves buying things. There's always things rocking up from the internet.
Shout out Christina, Kylie. Yeah. So listen, I want to go back to early days. Which part of
I think
Sydney?
this has been a bit.
Dude, there's no rules.
Cool.
I try not to play by the rules, whatever the rules are.
I always think of the 9 Club.
Actually, I've got to put the 9 Club.
It's very
Honestly,
structured.
like, how good are those guys? Like, seriously.
I couldn't
you
stand
don't
them
like
at the beginning. I like them now,
Yeah.
but the first episodes where Chris Roberts would just talk about himself all the time, I would be like, oh.
Yeah.
But now, and he didn't do any research. It was interesting.
They've turned.
No, I like it now.
They're kind of pro though now. They are pro. The way they do it, their setup is.
Yeah. No, I think you were saying it before, like, and I totally agree. Like, a podcast, the more you listen to it, you start to, like, even if you dislike a person, you start to, like, sort of think you know them.
Consistency. Like, I'm going to give you an example. Like, Grant Denyer, right? The first time I ever seen that guy on TV, I'm like, oh my God, he's such a tool. Get him off the TV. How is he on TV? And now I see Grant Denyer on TV 20 years later. I'm like, yes, Grant Denyer.
Yeah.
I just think it's like familiarity. Like,
maybe too, but because you're now doing some.
that's a bad example.
No, but you know how, like, I always found, like, with, like, photography, for example, if you start doing the thing, photography or podcasting or any sort of media, you appreciate the people in that so much more. You realize how much harder it is. Because photography, I never knew. If you see a good photo, you think, it's just like a chance good photo. But I reckon 90% of photos, maybe not now, but they've worked super hard to get that image. And there's probably thousands of, there's all sorts of stuff you can't see. And yeah, I definitely found, or video, same thing. Like, you realize it's not a chance happening very often. Maybe now more with digital stuff.
You get more of an eye for it, I guess, and a feel for it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's a lot more work than people think.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah, like a podcast is. Yeah, I really want to do one, like we were saying before, just on skating and the history, because there's just so many classic stories that I like, where I'm like, man, these
you don't
stories
think
are going
it's
to die.
like saturated though?
Well, there's no Australian one.
That's
that
true.
I know.
That's true.
I don't know, but like, I think it's the same as you were saying before. I'm only doing it for fun, like a history, like a personal interest project.
Yeah, and I think too, like what I'm learning as time goes on, and you've probably realised this as someone who's documented a lot over the years, is every day that goes by, that image or that recording increases in value. So, I mean, I'm sure you look at some of your photos from the 90s and just go, wow.
No, see, because I think, I don't know, like all the photos I ever shot, I was really disappointed in, because I was always...
All of the photos?
Yeah, because I was always because I'd work all week at Juice and I went to uni full time. And then on the weekends, I would shoot photos and I'd get my bag out and go shoot photos. But I'd have so little time to like get my stuff ready or get organized. And we were making a video as well. I'd always be making a video. So I'd have like a video camera, which I'd do both or get someone else to film it. So it'd always be like stuff wouldn't work. It was a night. The stuff was the worst. Like the equipment sucked. And it's particularly my stuff, because I'd never have time to prepare it properly, because I wouldn't, in the week I'd be working and then the weekend would come and I'd be like, And so, and I guess there were people like, Mike O'Mealy, who lived in Sydney, and he didn't live here he lived here for a while, but then he moved to America and became a photographer. But Yeah, I always felt like the photos I shot, it was just like a side project that I couldn't dedicate. And I think a photo too, you look at it and you think, it could be better.
Like you weren't just a photographer.
Nah. And I always, when I went over to America and spent a bunch of time there, I was very envious because you'd go to people, you'd live at the shoot house team manager, then you'd go into we'd go into Chris Ortiz's office who owned 411, and he would just be a photographer. He didn't have to do anything, and you'd be like, in Australia, if you wanted to survive.
Yeah, you're managing a business, going to
you had to do like 10 things, and you'd still make like a quarter of the money those dudes. It was hard to make a living, even for those dudes. And the skaters didn't make any money, so they weren't like, it was just in America, the skaters needed photos so they could get paid, so they were very keen to work with the photographer, whereas in Australia, they were just doing it for themselves. They'd be like, I don't like that photo, don't run it. And you'd be like, man, we just dragged it around. Like people would always be like, can you send me the photo after you've shot it? And
then they don't like it.
And you'd be like, what's the best that can happen? Like you'd be like, that's great, send it. You'd be like,
but so you're saying you look back at your old photos and you don't really like them?
No, I think...
Sounds like you're being hard on yourself.
Maybe, but I think also back then you shot them on film, so they were in a slide transparency, which is just like what you'd have at a grandpa slideshow. And then the only way that photo could get run would be get sent to the magazine, and then they would scan it and put it in the magazine, but you had no control. People would lose it all the time. And there was no way to appreciate it unless it was in the magazine. And then magazines have kind of died and no one cares about them. So it's sort of like you can go back to the magazine and look at the photo, but then it was edited, into the terrible art direction or like really small. So you didn't really get to, now you can get the photo and just put it, from your camera straight onto Instagram.
Yeah.
I listened to this Morgan Massan podcast, and he's a surf photographer and he's a current surf photographer about what he does, and he makes good living. And it just I really liked sharing the photo. That was what it was all about for me. Like the photo, if you shot a photo and no one saw it, it was a waste of energy. So, but I was always bummed how you'd have to send it to the mag and then hope that it would run.
And then possibly for no one to ever see it.
Totally. Well,
and you spent a day shooting it, or like traveling to it.
Yeah. Well, that's why I quit shooting skate photos, was because it was two reasons. One, Dave Carmi, this dude from New Zealand, moved to Sydney, and he was just like, I think when he moved over, he wasn't like that good. Maybe not good, but he wasn't that. He was gonna become good, and then he just became way better at photography and so dedicated. And all he would do was shoot photos all day. And it was like,
I kind of feel like when I reflect on the 90s in terms of skate photographers around Sydney, I just always think of you, Mike O'Mealy, Aaron Brown, and this guy, Curtis Ma.
Yeah, totally.
I kind of like you guys were the guys.
Yeah, for sure. But I don't think Dave Carmi moved till later. But yeah, as soon as he moved, it was like time to retire.
Just too good.
He was so hardworking. And then I remember he got a job for Transworld and moved to San Francisco. And I remember thinking, everyone in San Francisco is fucked. Like he's going to just like...
that good.
He was just so hardworking, like he just lived. He would shoot skate photos, like same with Andrew Mapstone. He was exactly the same. Like I remember once we went on a trip to Melbourne and met up with Andrew Mapstone. It's like a Tuesday night. We met him at like 5 and we were skating till 2 a.m. or something. It was freezing and everyone got injured. And he was like, right, where's the next spot? And it was like 4 a.m. or something. And I was like, what is wrong with you? Like that guy he deserves everything that he's worked so hard.
I know. And I'm so inspired by people like that though. Like they're intense, but they just have this next level dedication to what they do. I mean,
amazing.
It's really cool. But listen, I want to go back a little bit to where you grew up. So you grew up in Sydney, like which part?
I grew up in South Coogee, like Maroubra.
Yeah.
And I still live there now.
And you went to school there?
Yep. I went to South Sydney High, which was just like the local school, and I just skateboarded. My parents didn't like that at all. My dad was pretty he was a smart guy, and he wasn't he didn't like skateboarding at all. He was like, stop it. And so they forced me to change schools at the start of year 10, and I went to a really strict private school for 10, 11, 12.
Do you mind telling us which
It
one?
was Scott's College.
I know Scott's College.
And I did not like it. And it was hard changing schools like that, but it helped me because I fluked it. I worked out at the end that I liked school and learning, so I ended up getting enough of a mark at the end of school to get into university, which was I actually got half in on my HSC and half in on my portfolio. So and then I went.
So they liked your photos?
Yeah. So I went to.
So you're saying like you didn't really like your photos, but the university did?
No. Like had to make this portfolio, and it was half like the clothes I was making, and because when I finished school, I started doing building at university, but I realized that I hated that, and so I just got out of that. Then I got hit by the car. Then I moved to New Zealand.
So just to finish with the car accident,
Yeah.
were you skateboarding?
I was
walking?
actually dropping something off at a shop we sold to, One World, down in Bondi. And I was in a car park, and someone I knew drove up in a car, and they were gonna like try and scare me and slam the brakes on, but they slid the car into the wall, and I was in between the car.
Dude, and broke your femur.
Well, it hit the wall so hard that it bounced back off again, and it had a bull bar, the car, so it actually cut the femur broke, but that was fine. They just pinned that. But the problem was actually down on my calf. It ripped out one of the muscles and paralyzed. It cut the nerve there. No. The same as Mark Matthews, the surfer. He just had the similar injury. But it eventually grew back to some extent. But that, like, he didn't mean it, and he felt bad about it. And yeah, so then that sort of changed. I think that made me more like determined than ever, like to just appreciate your life, because you never know when it's going to change. And like whatever it is, you can't change your experiences.
It's funny how trauma does that.
Yeah. But I don't know, like I always feel like I had a really lucky upbringing, and yeah, then I went to COFA, which is the College of Fine Arts, like New South Wales Uni, and I did design there.
Like graphic design or just design in general?
It was just a Bachelor of Design, which was kind of weird. But I was already doing Juice at the time, and I think I finished in 99, and I think at that time I was like, Juice was doing really well. I was shooting full-time skate photos, going to America. I think I went to America 6 times. And
to promote Juice?
Yeah, we were trying to move it over there.
To get distributors?
Yeah, we had this guy, Blake, who runs Beach Burrito now.
Blake Reed?
Yeah.
I know Blake well. Yeah. That's so cool.
He worked for us. He was
Blake. Love you, Blake.
Yeah, he lived in San Fran. We lived on his floor, me and Cale, in San Francisco for like 90 days.
Yeah.
And we had it over there. We had a distributor in America. In Canada, Japan, and we're doing Australia. So it was a pretty busy time.
See, Blake's another one that reminds me of you a little bit. I remember I worked with Blake in Breckenridge, Colorado at a restaurant called Rasta Pasta. And we became friends, and then we actually traveled down to Mexico together for, I think, about 3 months. And it was just this life-changing, expedition. And while we were down there, I remember he goes, you know what, I think one day I'm going to go back to Sydney and I'm going to open up like a Mexican restaurant. And I was like, yeah, it's a good idea. And he was kind of like, I don't really know what I want to do with my life. Anyway, what do you know? He went back, and through just sheer determination. And then I think now he owns like 12 of them around Australia. And the one in Bondi is pretty iconic.
Yeah, he's working hard.
And
he's got that one in Melbourne with the bowl.
He actually visited me in Bali recently. I went out to dinner with him and his wife, Emma. And he was like, dude, like, I'm glad I did it and I wanted it to happen and I just made it happen. But the business model for a restaurant in Australia is just really flawed. It's a really poor business model. But, he actually, he created a real scene through those restaurants. They nurtured like the arts in the area. They had like art showings regularly and parties, and they always supported skateboarding, especially like.
Yeah, that's it.
And it's like, I think the success was like you were saying before, born from, obviously you need to make money, but also born from just like, creating a scene and a culture.
Yeah, definitely. I think, if it's fun and people want to go there, then they'll go. I don't understand hospitality businesses. I don't understand. I'd just look at it and be like, you're only open like the evenings.
What about in Bali though?
Yeah, well, I still don't know that world.
Overheads are low.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, like the lawn over there, like I know Shane.
Ty Graham.
Well, Shane Moran, I know him. So
Okay.
He's a legend. He's the funniest person I've ever met. Yeah, do you know him?
Nah.
He's so funny. But yeah, like he's managed to make that business work, so it's sick.
Yeah, man. So yeah, you grew up like south of Sydney, and then you transitioned to university, and then through that whole time at university, you were running Juice Clothing, correct?
Yeah.
And then at what point did Juice really start to dwindle? So you said it started to really peak around the early 2000s. I mean, and you had some amazing riders. Like I always really associated your brand with the skateboarder Jeff Williams.
Yeah.
I mean,
what a legend.
for me, like that guy, I actually worked with him for a little while. We used to do this terrible roofing job. But I loved everything about him. Like he could skate transition, he could skate street, but he just had this he was just like this energy, like ball of gnarly energy.
That's so amazing.
What about his energy was so full on, hey?
Yeah, no,
Probably still is.
He's a tough guy. He's definitely tough. He lives, I don't know, he lives way up north now, and does some mining stuff.
Still stay in touch with him? Or?
Yeah. I talk to him on the internet every once in a while, and yeah, like I love Jeff. He's such a good dude, and he's super loyal, and he has a lot of amazing qualities. And he was amazing. You take him on. We once did this demo. We had a tour. We used to have tours, so we went to Perth on a skateboarding tour. Bit of a long story. And we took the whole team. There was like 12 of us. We took a DJ with us to play music at the things. It was so good. This guy, Dave Slade, he was sponsored by...
I remember. I've heard of Dave Slade. Yeah. I remember Dave Slade.
So that's a side story that I want to tell. But he came on the thing. So we hired a trailer to tow the speakers and all the crap. We got to the demo. And we had 3 demos in one day. So we rented turntables. We had all the people. We're like, yes, we're going to have music at the demos. It'll be sick. We get to the first demo, which is this place called God Park, in my memory, which is a big skate park over there. Dave starts setting up the demo. I mean, we start setting up the turntables and stuff, and realizes that he hasn't brought his records for the day. And we're like miles from anywhere. Like he couldn't have them, so we had no music. And we dragged everything there pretty much for this one day, and he didn't. But yeah, that whole tour was insane. Like we had Davo on it, and I remember he's like the Pied Piper. Whatever you'd be like, we need to be in this demo at 8:00 in Geraldton, which is what I was gonna say. And Jeff was on that. That was the reason I was going there. But basically, on the night before, they went to the casino. They left to go to the casino at 4 a.m. And I remember we have to leave in like 6 hours to drive to the demo, and they're like, yeah, we'll be right. Anyway, the next day. Those guys came back. They were useless. We drove all the way up to Geraldton. The people, they said, we were like, how far is Geraldton? They were like, yeah, it's only like 2 hours up to Geraldton. So just so that we'd go up and do a demo, but it ended up being like 6 hours or something to drive, like really far. And we were super late. I think we were like 4 hours late to the demo because everyone came back from the casino. And we got to the demo. And I remember everyone was sore and tired, and we arrived at the skate park, and we had this open trailer with a huge bus, that we'd rented with Juice stickers stuck all over it. We get there, and everyone's like, we can't go in there because there's so many people. Everyone in town was there, in my recollection. So we go back, get rid of the trailer, come back to the demo. We're like 7 hours late. And then no one else can basically move because they've been sitting in a car all day and to the casino the night before. Jeff does one-man demo of the skate park, just kills the whole skate park.
Easy one-man demo.
It was insane. It was amazing. Everyone else was like barely could walk. Then I remember afterwards, we were throwing, there was a product toss or whatever. We threw away all the product we had. I think it was the last thing. So we threw everything away, everything that we had. There was like a near sort of riot there. And I remember being out there trying to make sure little kids didn't get trampled, and mums being like, my kid didn't get anything. And Davo was like, just take the stickers off the van. They ripped all the stickers off the van, including all the budget stickers.
No way.
It was like the craziest thing ever. But the best thing about that story is I met this guy years later called Aaron Nanup, who's a pro skater from over there, from Geraldton. And I was like, no way, we did a demo there. It was crazy. You wouldn't believe it. Like, it was like a near riot. Like, it was, the whole town was there. And he was like, I was at that demo. I was a little kid. And I was like, no way. And he was like, yeah, because, you know, when you tell people the story, they're like, yeah, it's just a story.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was sick. That was like lifetime highlight.
No
that
way.
one, like seeing him, and he's a legend. He's a good guy too.
When you said, yeah, Jeff did a one-man demo, I felt
I did a one-man demo everywhere,
That's
but
what I
that
mean.
one was the one where we drew. Yeah, it was amazing.
Remember I used to skate Bondo mini ramp with him sometimes, and I just wouldn't skate. I just wanted, because I just really just wanted to stop and watch him. Like, he was
Yeah,
just so
insane.
exciting to watch, you know. His intensity was just unparalleled. Yeah, man. So, like, so Juice, I always
when
found...
did-
you go.
No, you said when did it start to dwindle?
Well, so when did it start to dwindle? But I just had this memory. It came back to me. I remember seeing like Juice got bootlegged.
That was the
Did it get
worst.
bootlegged a lot?
So bad. That was like such a bad experience because I wasn't driving like a Lambo. I was like just working hard, and then like it started happening, and yeah, there was nothing. We actually paid this company to supposedly stamp it out, but it didn't work at all. I think they actually sort of worked with the markets to sort of like go just do a something, you know, but it was really hard to stop, and it hurt the brand heaps. And it was like one of those, you know, when they're like something good comes out of everything, but I don't know. The only good thing that ever happened to that, in my opinion, was once I was watching I wasn't watching, but someone sent it to me. It was like a current affair thing of some like, I think there someone was accused of terrorism offenses, and they were wearing a Juice, like bootlegged Juice jacket. That was like the only positive I ever saw.
No way, dude.
But yeah, it sucked because I didn't get anything out of it, and it was really hard to stop. And
it's funny because like I remember when that happened, I was like, oh my god, like Juice is being bootlegged, like, and I kind of see like when a company gets big, they get bootlegged.
Yeah. But yeah, like unfortunately we weren't smart enough to, I guess, yeah.
And is it exposure for your brand?
No, yeah, I don't believe so. Like people say it is, but I think in that one instance, I believe they're making really crappy product that's sort of mirroring your product, and you have to.
It's cheapening your brand.
Yeah, I don't see it as a positive, but I don't know. Like people would say, man, that means you made it, you know. I just wish at that time, because I think the other thing that happened to me is when we lost, as I was saying before, we lost a bunch of money. Then it completely changed my life in terms of I immediately became like making money and understanding accounting. I realized that is the key to business. Like before then, I was just in it for fun and
fame.
No, I don't know. Well, I'd never wanted to be famous. I don't think people really knew. You know, you're just a company owner. People don't know who you are.
Cool. You want to be cool?
Maybe. I think I just wanted to have a company where it could do cool things for the scene. I don't know. I honestly think, and probably be involved in skating.
Be recognized in skateboarding?
Maybe, but I think that's in photography maybe. I remember once there was my friend Josh who had a brand. He was Josh Goot. He ended up becoming a famous, more famous than me, fashion designer, but we're at some launch of something. And some girl came up and was like, what do you do? And he had a company called Platform. And he goes, yeah, I do this thing called Platform. And then I was like, I do Juice. And she'd heard of Juice. And so he was like, no way. Like, that was probably yeah, but I don't think recognition. I really wanted, it sounds insanely stupid, but I really wanted to make it so that the kids would have like support so they could do, like it would help them with their career. And also it would help you as well. Your company does well. You can make a living doing what you love. No one tells you what to do. Because that's, that I think that's why I wanted to do it. Yeah. But I don't know.
That's cool,
Who
man.
knows?
It's cool. I mean, I guess too, for like young Australian skateboarders, it's near impossible. And you were trying to create opportunities. Would that be a better way to look at it?
Yeah. But it's sick now that a company like Passport, for example, is able to, you know, it's just a new, you know, Trent is a sick guy. You should have him on his rad. And they've like, they don't have a super team. I don't think like their team's Passport doesn't do good because their team is like the best, you know, at Street League or has heaps of videos on Thrasher. It's just like an actual team effort. It's a good vibe. It's from Australia. People, I think, you know, companies like Element came in because I think that was one of the reasons the reasons, there was many reasons, but I think one of the reasons Juice dwindled was DC and Element came out, which were bought by Quicksilver and Billabong to compete directly with Juice. And
it's a huge backing.
Yeah. But whatever, like, it's business. And but Passport, now people like, they see DC, they see Element in everywhere, like with, they see what it is now.
Too mainstream.
But it was always that brand, I think. But it's cool. But I think Passport is existing in, people want that different thing overseas. If you live in California, you don't want to buy an Element shirt. You're like, I want to get a Passport. It's different.
Well, because it's more authentic. It's real. It's not. It's grassroots.
Yeah, I don't know though. Do you reckon? I think skateboarding kids are really young and they're not that well educated. Maybe
I don't know. I'm starting to feel like they are.
Maybe they're getting better. They probably are now for sure.
I mean, I know for me as still a consumer of skate products and a consumer in general, like I really like to know the history of like companies. Like if I go into, like I bought a new skate deck the other day, like I was only looking at Anti-Hero or Girl boards. There's no way I'd even touch an Element board because of the fact of they're just with Quicksilver.
But I always think it's funny how it's a bit like Instagram and Facebook. People don't realize how much of the brands are like, like Deluxe is real, Anti-Hero, like Crooked, Thunder, Spitfire. That's just, and people are like, I love Spitfire, but I can't stand like real, but they don't realize
it's the same company.
Yeah, and there's I think there's heaps of brands like that where people, especially in skating back in the day, all brands were sort of from one house. Baker was through Birdhouse, or Blitz or whatever, and then Etnies and America and S, all the same. But I don't know. It's fascinating.
You feel that like that, I guess that corporate involvement coming into skateboarding sort of is what eventually ended Juice, or were you just?
I think there was heaps of different reasons why. I think brands have a life cycle. I think, like a lot of different, a lot of different like factors came in, and now like I think like there's brands where they was, like where I can't believe they didn't. Now it's like, how could you have like there's, whereas before there was like 6 brands, now there's like just all of those Insta brands. There's hundreds of, everyone has a brand. It's just so different. Like I don't think those brands, none of the brands that existed then can exist now like they did then. Like a brand like, I always loved Insight, as whatever it changed into, it became weirder and whatever, but it definitely was cool and creative and, it seemed to work well with the market, but I think they, not even they could.
So it's finding that niche really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it just evolves. I think that's the thing. Now, like if you wanted to have a brand, you look at Passport or...
I guess the question I've got for you is like, as it ended, and do you feel like you failed at it?
Nah, because, I mean, maybe, but I think it, when you see like, from the outside, you're watching it slow, but when you're in there, I was already looking to what I was going to do. And I think also I made, a lot of things happened where I made the videos and I shot a lot of photos and I worked so hard on it that I like totally burnt myself out for that sort of work. And so I think then I really wanted to have a business where it would be like, you just didn't have to work 7 days a week, like 20 hours a day to make it like a success. And you were more focused on the business side. But then, I don't know. Like, I guess I always like to look forward.
Yeah.
I like nostalgia, I guess, but I don't look back.
You don't look back.
No, like I was already doing like, I think we were distributing Vox and Cliché, which was a French brand that Cale rode for. And then, I was trying to, and doing Juice, and I was trying to have somewhere to sell those things. So we're like, man, we should do a skating store. And there was a shop in Penrith called PSC, but they got bought by Globe and then closed down. So I was like, that'd be a good spot. And so I guess, I was already thinking of the next strategy of what I was going to do.
Yeah.
But I think at the time it definitely was hard. I remember not getting an order off Surf Dive and Ski the first whatever year that was. But that would have been like a long time before the lay person in the public realized it, you know? Like I was already like...
So the product was still in the shop at the time, but you just weren't getting the orders.
Yeah. It was like a sort of a slow... Well, it was fast. We basically lost a bunch of that 600 grand. And then it took 2 years to... That's a good story, actually. It took 2 years to pay it back. And at that time, my business partner left the business. He was like... Because he's older than me, and he was like, I can't...
How did you cope with news of... Like that kind of news, like, hey, you've lost 600 grand this year. Was it just very business and clinical?
No, I didn't know anything about it. I was like, what?
Was there high stress?
Yeah, not at the time. I think I thought it was, I was like, all right. But then it took 2 years to pay it back. And I remember I couldn't sleep. I couldn't like eat probably. It was terrible. But yeah, my business partner quit the business. And then I was like, how are we going to get this out? But I didn't want to like rip people, like not pay. I don't believe in that, like going into voluntary administration or anything like that. I was like, I want to make it right. And then we had this product. It was because we made girls clothing as well. And we had this gold foil tiger top. So it was just a black top with a gold foil tiger on it. And we still made things in Australia, which was all of our competitors had moved overseas, but we're still making them in Australia. So this product came out and it was the best selling product. This is in my mind, or what I got told, but in general pants, surf, dive, and ski, and city beach. So, and that product, and we were making it here, so the people that we were competing against couldn't make a competitive product for it. Like they couldn't copy it because they would take like months to get it. And that product basically paid off all of the sins. I think we were making like 1,200 of them a week, like as many as we could make. And
so it saved you.
Yeah, and I paid off all the debts that I owed. And as soon as I managed to do that, I got it. You know, I paid off all of those debts with that.
No way.
And I think I got myself into a financial position where I didn't owe any money on anything. And then I sort of changed my life to being way more like with Kingpin, the skate shop that I do now. We sort of pay for everything up front. So we can't ever get into a...
So you learnt from your lessons?
Yeah, it was a very hard lesson.
Like simplified things?
No, I don't think so. It just made it so that I couldn't ever... Because in the other one, we'd sort of... The orders would come in, you'd get like whatever the season, $1 million worth of orders for the season. And then... So you'd owe the money to make the orders. So the money was sort of going around, but you could be in a... You know, in a... We got into a debit position.
Right.
So I made it so now... I'm very focused on the business being an easy, non-stress thing, so nothing can really go that awry or badly as it did before.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah, I guess like I was talking to you about this before we started today. We're getting a coffee. Like, you know, for me, like as a high school teacher, I've always, you know, like.
That's the sickest. I really think the high school teacher is like the best. Like you can inspire kids. Be positive. No,
definitely.
Be positive.
Definitely. I mean,
about yourself.
I was originally attracted to it not for the money. Not to say the money's epic, but I was attracted to it for the sense of purpose that gives me and just an interest in education and in a passion and enjoyment for it. But when I speak to people like you, like entrepreneurs, and I've got a few friends that have gone out on their own, like I really admire this ability to, you know, put yourselves in these situations and take risks and like I don't know if I could cope with the ups and the downs. So it sounds like you've had, but I think now that you're a little bit older, a little bit wiser, you kind of can predict things a little bit better than you used to. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely say I didn't realize that is a thing, that having your own business, one of the most difficult things is you're responsible for it and you're responsible for the debt or the problems or anything that can arise from it. And you've got to work when something happens, like the virus, you've got to like work out how am I going to what am I going to do? And everyone that works there is like, what's happening? And you're like, I have no idea, but I've never had anything like that happen before.
Are you a coffee guy?
Nah, I never drink coffee because I had this friend who drink coffee and he would. But I think it's cool. And he needed it to be normal, so I figured I'll just never have it, and I'll be normal.
It's a good point. Yeah,
I don't know. That was my theory, but it's still, my missus loves it.
She loves it. It just gets me inspired.
Yeah,
which is not good. Like it's
no, apparently you perform better as an athlete on coffee and hydration. I remember reading an interview with an artist, and he said he skated the best ever on coffee.
Coffee with milk messes me up, but when it's like black coffee, I actually do bulletproof coffees. Have you heard of those?
No.
It's like coffee blended with like butter and coconut oil or MCT oil, and it's like it teaches your body to metabolize the fats as its primary source of energy. The caffeine accelerates your body's ability to do that because it will go for the carbohydrates first, but fat is a better source of energy and it's the secondary source of energy.
Yeah. Well, learning new stuff.
Yeah, cool. It's interesting. Some people don't like it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think coffee's good because it's social and people, they get in it. Expensive. It's good.
Expensive?
Well, it's an expensive habit if you do it every day.
Would you say you're frugal with money?
I don't know. Nah. I don't know. I don't think I've changed. I think like now I'm essentially like an accountant. Like basically my job at Kingpin, and I definitely is to do the accounts, and I focus. Like I said, we lost a bunch of money in the last business, so this business I make sure that I do the best I can on the accounts. But like I went to design school, so
have you ever heard that saying? If you count your pennies, the dollars will take care of themselves. Yeah,
maybe. I don't know. I think, paying attention to accounts is boring, but I think it's so. If you're in business, it's so important.
Yeah. So I think money has such an influence on our lives. Like, I often go through times like, I don't want to be controlled by money and money's bullshit. But then I'm like, well, if you're not managing it, it's going to manage you and it's going to manage your life decisions and it's going to dictate that stuff. So I'm kind of like, I feel like it is something that, you do need to definitely.
For sure. If you have a good understanding of those principles, then you won't be so beholden to it, and it's hard. I don't know. It's so hard now. If I was a young person, like just starting out my career, you just think property is so expensive and I think it's really hard.
My views on buying property have changed.
Yeah. Well, anyone in Australia that's bought a property in the last 200 years will tell you what a financial genius they are. But it's been pretty easy.
Yeah, true.
I don't know.
I kind of. Well, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole too much, but I kind of like look at the interest that you pay over the course of a loan, and then looking at the capital growth, and I'm like, is it really worth it? And then there's the stress that comes with it, and how much you become owned by this thing and by a bank.
But you got to live somewhere, and your own home's capital gains exempt, so it feels like. And I just feel like they should make it way easier for young people. Get rid of negative gearing. That's just totally unfair. If you're a dentist, you just own 12 properties and write it off or a surgeon, whatever. It doesn't seem fair.
Well, the rich get richer, don't they?
Yeah, maybe. But I don't know. Like, I think you can, like Americans, they have that great belief in themselves and that you can succeed from anywhere, and I think Australians don't have as much of that.
Yeah, we're kind of not. Well, like after working with a lot of Americans over the last 2 years, they are very, I'm so, in a lot of ways impressed by how entrepreneurial and driven they are.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. They really believe in turning something into nothing.
Yeah, well, when I was over there, I found it strange how there's no safety net really. There's not a lot of social security, and if you don't succeed, everyone sees you as the failure and you're the reason why you haven't succeeded. And I always remember over there when I'd shoot a lot of skate photos, you'd encounter heaps of homeless people, particularly in San Francisco. There's so many. That was the thing I noticed the most, just so many people that are homeless. And the American attitude towards homeless people is they're very harsh. Like even people that that are similar to you, they think they're like, oh, it's up to them, and you're just like, man, like Australia, I think is so good in that we have some level of social security, but I think obviously, I don't know. I just think education is the key to helping everyone get out of that problem.
I agree with that, and I really do think education should be the same for everyone. Like, I could go on and on about this. I don't really believe in private schools. I think everyone should have the same level and opportunity, because it really is the foundation of a good society and a good country.
Yeah,
and it can eliminate class systems, and it can create a more level playing field.
It's lame.
And education really is the answer, and it's the foundation of it all.
Yeah, and private schools totally work as well, like, which sucks, because I think they really do help the students that go there, like, achieve a better mark. But I don't know, maybe the people that went to TAFE and became tradies are like laughing last because they did the best.
Yeah, exactly. And not everyone is cut out for university. That's true, so I don't know. It's a pretty big conversation, that one.
Yeah. I really wanted to say too, totally unrelated.
Go.
But that kingpin has been made up of like all the other people that work there, like Joey and Dave, and everyone that works there, like, they've worked, I just do the accounting, like, that's cool. Really, but make it, and the jobs some people don't want to do, like emptying the rubbish.
If you do that.
Man, like, I always think you got to do the job. I'll do the worst job possible. Like, whatever it is that people are like, I don't want to do that. I think I'd hate to make someone do a job like that I wouldn't want to do.
So you're a team player?
Maybe. I don't know. I was listening to another podcast that you did, and I always hated teams. I don't really like team sports. I'm more individual. But I think, I try. It's hard, like, with staff, trying to make them happy and feel appreciated. I think that it's really difficult. That's probably the hardest thing in business, for sure.
Leadership?
No, just like treating your staff like so that they feel happy and...
Yeah, but that's a leadership quality, like...
Maybe, but I think it's more like... Yeah, maybe, but I think it's more like that they actually... You could be a great leader and a terrible manager of your staff, like we're going to do that. Like Steve Jobs, he was like an asshole.
Genius.
But he was so mean, like he was... But, interesting guy, but he would drive the company in the exact direction. Well, he just seemed like a crazy person, but in the direction he wanted it to go. But it seemed like he was a terrible person to work for.
Yeah, those people that you mentioned that you are associated with, like, do you feel like there was a little bit of magic in there with you guys coming together and having like an instant chemistry?
Maybe, not really. I think all of them came in sort of... I don't think if you start a business with your friends, you're just instantly not friends with that person anymore. Well, you're just in a different relationship. So I think starting a business with your friends is a really bad idea, because if they're your actual friends, then that's the end of that friendship a lot of the time. Not always, but I don't know how people do it. Like ones where they do a business with their wife or something. I'm just like, man, that would be insane. But
it's like when you move in with a friend, like as a flatmate, all of a sudden it changes the dynamic of your relationship.
Yeah, you realize they're a psycho.
Or have you paid your part of the electricity bill?
Yeah,
it's awkward.
Wash
the fucking dishes, man.
Nah, but I feel super lucky to have worked with everyone that I've ever worked with. Like and I think it's fun, and you're trying to make it be the best person you possibly can, like every day. I don't know.
Be the best person you possibly can every day.
Well, I always try and be positive as much as I can. I mean, I think I'm naturally like a pretty picky sort of like, I don't know if it's a negative person, but I try hard not to let that outshine my, like what you say, because people if you're positive, it works so much better. Like
when you say naturally picky, like have you become more cynical in your older age?
No, I reckon less. Like, I reckon...
More tolerant.
Well, I think as a skateboarder, when you're growing up, you just hated everything. Like, everything sucked. And it wasn't as cool. And I was super close-minded to anything that wasn't skateboarding, Like, and then as you get older, you meet, like, different people and you realize, like, it's the person that really counts. Like, my best friend in Bali is this Norwegian guy. And he's so different. Excuse me. And he's just like, I like how you can have like differing friends from such different backgrounds where you might not meet those people if you were just super close-minded.
If he's so different though, what attracts you to him? What do you like about him?
He's from a totally different like place, like Norway, but he has the same sensibilities as me. Like, and I can't believe he's the same age, and he's like a Norwegian rap star, but now he's like, but he's like, you can talk about Simpsons to him, and he's really had the similar like upbringing to me. And in Bali, like we both moved there on the same day, and it was just coincidental. But it's just interesting having that friend where you're from a different world. But I don't know, Bali's like that. I think we were saying before, you can sort of reinvent yourself there, but also I think people have no friendship network there. So you're not like, whereas here you walk down the street, you see someone, they're like on the way to something else. They don't have any time for you.
Notice that.
But they shouldn't. Otherwise you'd talk to every person. You wouldn't be able to get anywhere. And, but over there, everyone's like, no one has any friends for long, and everyone's sort of more open. You can just talk, hey, what are you doing? And everyone's sort of on holidays. So yeah, I think you can make new friendships over there, and it's interesting.
Yeah. It's like more of a level playing field.
Yeah. I think everyone's, they don't have the existing friendship network, and a lot of them are just over there on holidays, not working as hard. So,
or like on an extended sort of stay or.
Yeah. Well, I think, we were talking before about Bali, like, and Juice, so Juice got licensed in Indonesia.
Right.
And it did really well over there. We never went at all. And after a bunch of years, we were still getting royalties, and I went over and was like, oh my God. And they had like an amazing setup over there.
So you sold the rights to a distributor over there?
We just sold a license, so they pay 5% of whatever they say they sell.
So it's still turning money over.
Yeah. So that's a good thing. It's like an interior universe. It's the best thing that ever happened to me financially, for sure. And sorry.
Sorry.
And they so you go over there, and I became friends with all the people over there, and I worked a lot. Like, I'd shoot the catalogs and go there and try and like make it as good as possible. It's owned by this group called Planet Surf, and they have like stores all over Indonesia, and Indonesia's huge. Like, people don't realize like their spread. And they also do like Channel Islands, or they did Insight. They have a bunch of other brands, and I think they have like, cool, I don't know, like maybe 100 stores. It's huge.
So it still lives.
Still lives. It's wild. It's a wild time. It's like an interior, like I said, it's like a strange other universe.
Do you ever stop though and think, okay, this idea that I conceived when I was young, and it's now.
Yeah, it's funny when you see it as a billboard going into the airport. You're like, there it is, But I like, that's just a totally different thing. But yeah, it was cool because I used to fly there, shoot the catalog. I didn't surf it at all, and then I would just want to leave as quick as possible. Like, I didn't like Bali. I didn't not like it. I just was like, I think I was trying to snowboard at the time. I was like, yeah. And then one year I was like, I'm gonna go. Like, and
so when did you start really getting into surfing?
I got a DVT in my leg, which is like a deep vein thrombosis in 2010.
No way.
And at the time I was still snowboarding, but then I had to take blood thinners. And so I had to take them for a year, and they were like, you can't snowboard for a year. And I was already old, so that was the end of snowboarding. So then I took up surfing at that particular time. So I think I was 35. And then I just traded it in, and then I tried to surf every day. And then, so then that was the end of snowboarding, start of surfing. And then I think at that time I was like, then I can go to Bali. They surf there. And so the guy who brought Juice to Bali is this guy, Craig Huddleston. He's lived in Bali for, I think, like 30 years. And so he knew everyone, every single person in Bali. He's like the OGest Bali person ever. He doesn't live there anymore. But his kids went to college and he moved to America. He's American, but he has a Balinese wife.
Yeah.
And so I learned everything about Bali from like him, like, and I'd just follow him around and be able to get all of his knowledge straight away. And he was friends with this guy, Gregor Rankin, who runs Globe.
Gregor Rankin, the old vert skater.
Yeah, well, he runs
from
Globe.
New Zealand?
He runs Globe in Bali.
I've heard of Gregor Rankin.
He lives in...
what about Gary Valentine?
He runs Globe in America.
I thought so.
Yeah, he's crazy. But yeah, so... Yeah, that was, I think, that's how I ended up coming to Bali, which was totally like, it was only because Juice was there.
So what does surfing do for you that like skateboarding and snowboarding don't?
Nothing. It's the same.
It's the same?
Oh, it's the same feeling. Like you're just
Really?
trying to do a new trick. And I think like...
See, I disagree. For me, it doesn't, I can't compare them at all. The rhythm of it.
But I'm trying to get the same thing, I think.
You're trying to work towards that.
But yeah, I don't know. Like I just want to... I think I've always been shocked at how surfers, we were saying this before, how they're so... Like skating, if you rock up to the skate park, even if you've never been on a skateboard before in your life, someone will help you if you're not a complete like arsehole. But surfing, it's like the rules, the surfing etiquette is insane.
Oh, the culture, man.
But I don't know. I'm just as bad as anyone else.
I struggle with it. I've always struggled with it. I love surfing itself and I love being in the ocean and the environment and the actual act of surfing, but I still, to this day, struggle with surf culture. I feel like it's very me. Like you said, skateboarding, it's like a brotherhood. Like I can surf at Canggu in the morning and fight for waves and get vibed out by people, but then I can go and skate Amplitude Skate Park in the afternoon, and it's like it's all smiles and hellos and everyone cheering each other on and. Coming from a skate background originally, I just found that so weird about surfing.
Yeah, but I don't know. I like surfing, and I'm a big fan of like Dane Reynolds, the surfer, and I think he's changed surfing culture a lot, like more than anyone. And I think he's super self-deprecating, and he
or humble.
No. But he's humble, but he's more than that. But I think he's sort of like changed it to being like not the alpha male. You know,
he could be because he's like
he can do anything.
He's an amazing surfer.
Yeah, but I think he's improved surf culture amazingly. So I think I got into surfing and then I really liked what he was doing. I was like, no way, because I surfed as a kid and then not for like 25 years or whatever. And I think if he was surfing then, I would have continued it on, because he's so, I really like him. And I like surfing too, like in Bali or anywhere, over time, you can, get your place in the lineup or whatever. But I just wish it was more like, I wish people didn't like think that because you were on the inside, you had the right of way because you're better. Or I just find that's really strange. Yeah.
I just feel like a lot of the time in the surf, I am, jostling for position and, I guess I try not to fight it as much as I used to. And I'll often choose like lesser quality waves to avoid crowds because, for me nowadays, like surfing is so much more than actually just catching waves. It's just about, just being out there and being amongst the environment and getting some exercise and, catching waves. Obviously I want to do it, but it's more of a bonus. And I find when I have that attitude, I end up getting more waves. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I go the opposite. I always try and go to the best wave and just try and get one.
And sit right on the inside.
Definitely.
You know what? I actually seen you at Canggu Rivermouth. And, I mean, I hadn't seen you in years. And I sort of got out of the surf and I didn't click until I was walking up the beach. I went, was that guy? Like, because it'd been years. And then I think I seen you at the skate park later and I was like, I was like, oh, yeah, that is Guy. Like, it was just such a spin. I would have never expected to see you there.
No, it was a late charge surfing. But I think I surf more at the Rivermouth.
You surf good.
Yeah, thanks. But I think I surfed more once I worked out that I loved that wave.
It's such a good wave.
I got the place over there and I reckon I surfed more than anyone out there for a few years. Like it's so sick.
Well, my buddies who were still there, they said there was a period there they were surfing the Rivermouth with like 1, 2, 3 guys out.
It was still crowded because all the other beaches were closed and everyone was coming down.
He was saying this was this week just with like that the Banjar had relaxed the rules a bit. The gates were still there, but they were letting people sneak through in the morning. And
no, it's sad. The whole virus thing is terrible for Bali and I don't know. Like you were saying before, that project, if you can give any money to Project Nazi.
Well, this is what I was going to get to, man. Like, it's been epic. It's been, like, I've lost my time a little bit. It's probably well over an hour and a half. And I ask all guests to come with a cause. Yep. So, like, what cause do you want to advocate for today?
Well, I think it would be Project Nasi for sure.
So can you tell us a little bit about it, bro?
I don't know. I think you should do the telling about it because you know more about it than me. I donated to it, and like I think, like it's just helping. You say.
Well, they're a GoFundMe organised by an Australian guy called Sam Mahoney who owns the Juice van, Life on the Juice down at Legian. It's an awesome little vibe he's created down there, and he's also a high school teacher at the Australian Independent School. And when COVID hit, he realised very quickly that this was going to really impact on the local Balinese people. And so he's raised I think the goal was $70,000, and they're well on their way there, like over halfway, and supplying literally thousands of meals and essential items to people who are genuinely starving. And what's so good about it is because it's completely unfiltered money. It's going directly into the mouths and the hearts of the Balinese. So it's a good one to support, bro.
Yeah. I just think Bali's, it's the best place. But yeah, it sucks out.
Why do you think it's the best place?
I don't know. I was
Aside
thinking
from
about
the surf, tell me, what do you love about it?
Well, I like the Balinese people and just everyone there, like how they're if I was going to be any religion, I'd definitely go with that one. It's so they focus, it's so many things on, like there's a ceremony every day that you have to go to, so it focuses you more on your family, and they also believe in, how you do in this life's going to affect you, or karma or whatever, so you're trying to do good, so you'll do. But it just seems great, and obviously it's cheap because, I think that's an issue I have with Bali is people are getting paid way less, and that's part of the attraction. And I think I often struggle myself, because you've got that, you're sort of benefiting from that coming from a more richer society, I guess. It's great for you because your dollar goes further. But
do you feel like you're taking advantage?
I think anyone that goes there is to some extent, but I try and reconcile it myself. We have people that work, we have a place over there, and we try and help them, and as much as I can, but I still think it's like you're kidding yourself if you think it's you're not. I don't know. It's
you're
really
not part of the problem.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. I think I always find it weird when you see someone advocating something but then doing something different. So I always try and be true to that.
You're a little bit conflicted though when you're there.
Yeah, I don't know. A little. I love it. I think it's amazing. and I try and do the best I can by the people that work for us or I encounter over there every day. But yeah, you definitely see things where it's pretty shocking, where you see just the building that's going on there, and they don't have any safety equipment or masks. So they're all smoking so many cigarettes anyway. But yeah, it's definitely it's the sickest place. The weather, the waves, everything's amazing. But definitely the price of the place, I think, is an attraction for a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Going back to what you said about their ceremony and spirituality. Yeah, then because they got such a strong sense of spirituality, it definitely translates into everything they do. And I don't know, I just see a lot of happy people. That's all I see. Happy, genuinely happy people. So
no, I love Bali. I think it's the greatest.
Well, listen, I'll the link to the Project Nasi GoFundMe will be in Guy's show notes, and you can actually you can find that via the terriblehappytalks.com website. There'll also be a bunch of links there to the various platforms that the podcast is also published on, such as Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Buzzsprout, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and just recently been picked up by iHeartRadio. And you can choose the platform that works best for your device. Now, listen, bro, I've got a present for you.
No way.
Dude, don't get too excited. The first one I've got for you, and it's not here, but the Australian distributor of Indosol will be sending you a pair of flip-flops or slides. So
sick. I love those things. I always go to the shop.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
I have a pair in Indo.
Yeah. I know we're in winter.
The black ones.
The slides or the flip-flops?
The slides.
So, yeah, they'll be sending you a pair of those. So I'll get your shoe size. And big shout out to Nick Riley and Kai Paul. You can go to www.indosol.com, use promo code THT, and you'll get a discount, and also help them with their Getting the Food to the People Who Need It initiative. And another shout out to Tectonic Coffee. Use promo code THT. Those guys are legends supporting the show. Now, the other present, Guy, don't get too excited, bro.
I've heard about this present.
Have you? Good. You get the THT Circle logo sticker.
No, every skateboarder loves stickers.
I love stickers. And I was like, I've always wanted to give all the guests a gift, and only people that have been on the show get one of these. So, bro, stick it somewhere. So thanks, man. Thanks for being on, Guy. Dude, I'm so glad I connected with you, man.
Yeah, no, me too.
Legend.
Like we were saying, we're friends in Bali, at least.
Friends in Bali and Australia. Dude.
And on the internet, real friends.
Yeah. Dude, look at like this warehouse, man. Like,
oh yeah, go to kingpinstore.com, buy skateboard stuff.
Yeah, dude, I was like, seriously, I was thinking after we stop recording, I'm just going to like
raid the place.
I'm just going to walk around and just like check out all the shit that I like, I don't know, like pretend I'm like sponsored, and but I'm not sponsored.
The Davo raid. He would come and just...
What was he like back in the day? Who was the worst for product pillaging in the warehouse at Juice? Come on, let me guess. Not Skunk, because I can tell Skunk would just be, he's a gentleman. He's an absolute gentleman.
That's a hard question.
I
can't remember.
Bart Carnes, no.
Not Davo, because Davo would like come wearing all Ralph Lauren polo stuff and then refuse to wear anything that wasn't designed by Shannon Peel, Demote.
No way.
It was like so difficult. You'd be like, man, just wear this. Like, nah, I don't like it. Whereas, yeah, other people would just wear anything. But yeah, Davo was very, very picky. He never would, I think he would just get stuff that he could give away. I'll sell. No, they would wear stuff occasionally. It was funny though. You'd sponsor them and then you'd see them in the street wearing other stuff. It was cool. I like it. I think it's more valuable if someone's got their own style than just wear anything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Even though they're sponsored by a clothing company.
Yeah, but I think it makes, like Andrew Reynolds is, he's worth more wearing whatever some Iron Maiden shirt than an America shirt, because people are still like, I love, well now Vans.
He's riding Vans.
I know.
Dude.
So sad.
We like the same shoes, like half cabs. That's all I can only skate in half cabs and best shoes.
Pink Riley Hawk salmon slippers.
I was actually looking at them. I was like that dusty pink Lakai.
Good for working in the warehouse.
Do you guys sell Lakais?
Yeah, man. And Lakai's I love. Well, I just like going.
I bought these Adidas from Kingpin the other day.
No way. Yeah. Good work.
Dude, thanks. I went for something different, fluoro, orange.
I like those ones. The booze knits. So good.
Yeah, the business, yeah.
Booze and tits.
Cool.
Sorry,
is that an old Kingpin joke?
Nah, I don't know who made that up. I think my friend used to work at Adidas. I think he told me.
All right, man. Well, listen, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks heaps for having me.
High five, brother. Ew.
Thanks very much for having me, and thanks everyone that's ever worked at Kingpin or any other business that I've had.
Dude, legend, mate.
Cool.
All right, let's go and chill. See ya.